It's Monday. That means it's time for Worst of the Week. And today, Doc and I are going to review Titans #1 from Tom Taylor and Nicola Scott. And I can say this without a shadow of a doubt. No one's been better for DC Comics' ESG score than Tom Taylor as a writer, not only on Superman, Son of Kal-El, Nightwing, but now Titans #1 as well. And here talking to me about that is Doc. How you doing, buddy?
I also kind of hated everything about reading this comic book.
It's an interesting thing that's going on here, Doc. This is what I miss in comic books. I miss superheroes stopping robberies. I miss superheroes defeating just wholly evil people, because every villain has to be like really sympathetic now. I miss superheroes fighting big giant aliens. I miss superheroes actually fighting evil personified in the pages of comic books. So many times they're fighting the patriarchy. They're fighting climate change. We're fighting the wage gap. We're fighting like this and that. And it's so lame. I get it. There are lots of social justice warriors out there. There are a lot of people that buy into the climate change nonsense and all that whatnot. And it is a big deal for them. But this is the DC Comics universe. They have Mr. Terrific. They have so many super duper smart people that all the issues that we're facing in our world right now, real or imagined, wouldn't exist there because they would fix them.
Instead of fighting actual things that you can touch and smell and see, they go with these ethereal, metaphysical threats that are really just kind of boring. This is a visual medium, and they fight against things that you can't see, touch, smell, or hear. They fight against ideas. And even like whenever they do stick a villain in there that is going to be the stand-in for whatever metaphysical threat that they are fighting, it's still just really, really boring. And it doesn't feel like there's any actual threat.
Now, even in this one, there's a giant cybernetic gorilla fighting Garth, who's like a kaiju. And it lasts all of like 3 pages, and he's defeated almost instantly because they got to get back to the real threat, and that is a potential nuclear disaster, as well as changing ocean tides.
Yeah, you spend half this comic talking about the oceans under threat, so that's why Aqualad or whichever one it is doesn't want to join. Tempest. Okay, fine. Then it's a giant monkey to prevent a nuclear meltdown. And there was something else in there that they were also fighting against that had to do with the environment.
All right, well, let's get into the comic book. We'll talk about some of the specifics here. Let's start with the art first by Nicola Scott. I think she's a perfectly okay artist. Like she does some pretty decent stuff, but it's just the art here is just as flat as the story. It's so boring. She doesn't really do a whole lot of interesting stuff here. That's the best way I can explain it.
Yeah, this kind of reminded me a little bit of that Superman, John Kent, whatever the hell that one was we had to read, you maybe read last week, where it just looks like storyboards for a cheap Netflix show rather than actually a comic. I'm not really the biggest fan of Nicola Scott. I think that she's a competent drafts person, but not really a comic book artist by any stretch.
Absolutely. There's no energy to this comic book whatsoever when you look at the visuals. They're competently done. A solid illustrator is the way I would describe her, not a visual storyteller. When we get into the story, there's one big black cloud hanging over this version of Titans. They're supposed to be replacing the Justice League. Now they are the most formidable superhero team in the entire DC Comics universe, following Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, whatever. That stupid event that no one liked, that didn't end well, and never actually came up with a good reason why the Justice League would actually disband. So they ended up having this conversation with Tempest. We talked about it earlier, where he can't go and join his old friends because there's too much stuff going on with the ocean right now. There's a lot of pollution and stuff like that going on, and he just ain't got time for his friends anymore. And Nightwing tries to convince him when Garth says, "You honestly believe you can take over for the Justice League?" Nightwing says, "I honestly believe together we can help the world. The oceans are a big part of the world." Donna Troy says, "Most of it even." And then he says, "The Justice League were a team. The Titans are something stronger." What does that mean? They still haven't explained why the Justice League wouldn't go out and fight these enormous threats that would need a superhero team like the Justice League.
They decided that there was an impetus to this, making the Titans the #1 book. They just forgot to bother to tell anybody what it actually is. There's no threat that they've defined that somehow the Titans are more capable of handling than the Justice League. There's no reason why the Justice League has been sidelined. They've not explained why they decided that the Titans of all teams needs to be the one to replace the Justice League. They didn't bother to do any of the work to give us a why. Instead,
you and I believe that if Doomsday shows up tomorrow in the DC universe, that the Titans are going to go up and stand up to him while the Justice League sit on the sideline?
There isn't the slightest chance that happens. And we all know it. And you know what? Even DC knows it. This is why I don't think DC is bothered to actually even define what the impetus behind this is, because they haven't figured it out themselves.
Yeah, and I personally find that really frustrating. That's bad storytelling. You want to do a thing, but you don't want to actually create a reason for that thing to happen. The most obvious reason would be Batman and Superman are so angry with each other that they can no longer work together, and they refuse to do it. And the Justice League is split in half, and they don't know what to do. So the Titans have to come in and fill the void of the Justice League while they work out their differences. And that's called continuity. That's called planning. That's actually called storytelling. And that's void here to the biggest part of the entire story as why the Titans have to take over.
You can't bother to explain it, and we're not going to just take your, well, because we said so approach, which seems to be their explanation for why suddenly the Titans are the number one team on the planet.
The other big thing that they're doing in this comic book is they're setting up a future confrontation between Amanda Waller and the Suicide Squad, led by Peacemaker, versus the Titans. I know they want to make Peacemaker a thing. I know they want Amanda Waller to be a big deal in the DC Comics universe. The Suicide Squad, on their best day, couldn't defeat Superman on his own, let alone the entire Justice League. The idea that they're actually going to set up the Suicide Squad to be a formidable opponent for the Titans themselves lets you know why they can't replace the Justice League. And there's a line of dialogue that I got to talk about here that felt so not like Nightwing, it's not even funny. Peacemaker is trying to demand that the Titans, if they want to be a superhero team, actually have to work for the U.S. government. This is what Nightwing says. In my experience, superpowers and nationalism are a very bad mix, but there is no reason for antagonism between us.
Yeah, that's
fucking Tom Taylor, man.
It is. It's exactly what I expect from Tom Taylor.
He makes every hero sound like a fucking douchebag.
Every single one is some idiot. Oh, I'm so much better than you because I don't believe in patriotism. That's for the idiots out there. There's no such thing as countries, man. It's just imaginary lines on a map. This is the same bullshit that we had to listen to from dumbass hippies in the 70s and then weird globalists in the 90s. And now it's the anti-American, everyone else is better bullshit of the 2020s. We hear this shit every 20 to 30 years. You're not fucking original. Even if you wanted to do kind of that downsides of mixing government and superheroes like they did in like the Ultimates and Ultimates 2, you couldn't fucking sharpen goddamn Mark Miller's pencils.
It's just Tom Taylor for you. Every time he gets on one of these team books, he absolutely ruins it. And I'm already tired of Peacemaker. Get him out of the DC Comics universe. He never should have been in there to begin with. I don't care if fucking James Gunn likes the character and John Cena. The final big thing I guess we got to talk about, it opens up and ends with another major death for the Titans team. Wally West was dead for a very long time. They returned him. They turned him into a serial killer. They try to redeem him there, and then they turn him into a serial killer again. He's just now got his family back. His series is just now found the right footing, and people are enjoying the character again. So why wouldn't you just murder Wally West now anyway?
You get one writer that actually seems to know what to do with Wally West, and then the minute that they actually do something, DC's decides to, well, let's just take him back off the board and kill him again.
This
or
is the
make
problem,
him
Doc.
evil.
They can't kill Dawn Troy or Raven or any of the female characters because they'd be fridging. They can't kill Nightwing because he's the leader of the team and the character that Tom Taylor really wants you to like. So there's like one white male character left. So you got to kill Wally West, even though no hero in the DC Comics universe has been treated more poorly than Wally West over the last 8 years.
They could have brought in fucking Arsenal or Speedy to kill him. But
well, shit, you want to kill Speedy too? He just died.
He
came back. And he killed his daughter and cut his arm off, man. That guy's got it bad too.
The only time I like him is when he's Arsenal or Red Arrow. No, I mean they could have brought in somebody else to kill them off if they just need to. I mean, hey, if you just need to fridge some dude in order to create the impetus for the series to go on, you know, the call to action here. Yeah, sure. Why not just kill?
Why not use
Wally
Garth?
West?
He's not doing anything. He's just like sitting in the ocean. The
Garth?
only bad thing that's happened to Garth in like the last 5 years is he became an alcoholic. I guess they wouldn't be able to get that ESG score up without Garth doing his line.
Yeah, exactly.
He can't die for that.
Yeah, you got to keep him around so he can talk about the importance of the ocean and preventing pollution into it and bitch about apparently everybody putting plastic in it or microplastics or whatever else.
I wonder if they're going to talk about all those masks in the ocean.
There's no way that they're going to say that because masks are good, right?
Well, I guess it's good to pollute when it fits your narrative.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what the story is.
Yes. So no, they need Garth around to berate us on the evils of ocean pollution. Got to keep that ESG score up somehow.
Yeah. So that was the big. I guess this was the hook that's supposed to keep you coming back, or possibly the idea that Peacemaker and Amanda Waller are going to go after the Titans. Ah, man, this is just it's a limp comic book. There's nothing there to really get you going. It doesn't feel like the premier superhero team in anything. It just feels like Tom Taylor. That's what it feels like. That is not a compliment.
If this comic was designed to be the launch of the new marquee book that's going to headline and be the book of DC Comics in this dawn of DC era, it came out with, it came out and just flopped. It was flaccid. It was limp. It was just bad. But hey, at least they started off by giving us the way that they're going to retcon their way out of all of this because it's going to involve Wally West time traveling again.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's not going to stay dead. I know that. It's just like, can't we find somebody else to kill this stuff? Like he's died enough, but whatever. This thing is they're not the premier team. There's a reason they already had the Justice League scheduled to come back, and if you put Tom Taylor on an in-continuity series, it's bound to die. The best thing he's probably ever done in his career is Nightwing, and that ain't that good. Let's put it that way. I'm not recommending this comic book. If you're a big fan of the Titans, I say go back and read the George Perez, Marv Wolfman stuff.
If you're a big fan of the Titans, just don't bother to read this. Hell, go read Young Justice from Jeff Johns from a decade ago.
Man, if you're going to read Young Justice, do the Peter David stuff. It's better.
Oh, or they could do the Judd Winnick stuff, which was actually really good. Plus, you get awesome Michael Turner covers.
As a fan of the Teen Titans, this just wasn't it for me. Thankfully, I have talked about some good Titans comic books in the past. In fact, we did a retro talking about the new Teen Titans #2 first appearance of Deathstroke. If you haven't seen this one, go back in the Wayback Machine with Joe, Breen, and myself. A lot of fun here. There's also a link in the video description.